Welcome back, everyone, to the Smite 2 Founder Series Knockout LAN as we move over to Group B. My name is Gormizer, and joining me over there is Aggro. And I'm happy. This
happy
just,
to be here,
This
brother.
just feels right, you know?
Yep.
And maybe it's just because this is, like, it was really weird because I write, like, the schedule and then, like, get approval and stuff. But, like, I was doing it, and I'm like, wait, Aggro, you used to schedule me. Like, this is weird.
Sure.
It's not supposed to work the other way around.
I was gonna be. I didn't
messing with me.
I didn't even look at the schedule that much. I was just like, just tell me where to go.
I sent it to you
and...
like a week. I sent it to you a week ago, and then like 2 days ago, you were like, "Yeah, so actually, could we change something?"
yeah, that's on me. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'll take that one.
We made it work. And now I get to happily have you here for the desk. We're going to be in for a little treat, too, because we are moving into Group B. Up front, though, worth mentioning, for those of you who are tuning in, or maybe you didn't catch the memo, we are on CA7. That is important because CA8 came out like 3 days ago. It would have been wild to compete on that. And make sure that the competitive integrity is there, and then all of the players have had ample time to practice, prepare, and understand the game on a level playing field. So everyone's gotten their hands on this. And you'll notice, while Thor and New were already on that list, you'll see Baron Samedi has joined the bans up at the top due to some game-breaking bugs and things that just didn't feel fair for the teams to have to play with or against. And so those gods are gone. CA7, if you're wondering why the items that are being built, and, oh man, I thought this got nerfed, or didn't that get buffed? Why isn't no one buying it? That's going to be why. And if you're playing right now on live, though, you've got things like CC buffering that's available to you. You've got a whole lot of changes, some new gods that came out. I don't know. A lot of fun that I think you could be having. Keep us up on the side monitor, though, please. As we move forward, we are in Group B. We have been talking a lot about, elimination. We've been talking a lot about... I mean, admittedly, behind the scenes, tiebreakers, because that is, it feels like this group, it is inevitable. We just have to figure out when or how or who or why. And some of it's going to be like, well, if this set goes 3, that makes sure. If this team wins, well, then we won't have one. It's going to be a cluster bomb. It is going to be so wild. Los Lille, of course, are 0-2 as of right now, looking to try and fight back. You've got a couple of teams at 1-1, and Food Drive up there at 2-0, and you'll see a bunch of teams have beat each other as it's gone on.
But even though Los Lille's 0-2, they aren't dead in this group quite yet.
And that's kind of crazy, right?
So this is obviously a must-win, as any game is when you're down 0-2 and down to your last game. But they can, if they win this game 2-0, Los Lille, then they can just root for Food Drive to also win 2-0 over Team Risk, and then we'd have a 3-way tie for 1 and 2.
Yeah.
With a -2 there for your game things plus minus. That's what those are called.
Yeah.
So not dead in the water for Los Lille, and a lot on the line for them.
And what's weird is the flip side of that is for Smoke Break, while a win guarantees Vegas, your seeding becomes really, really confusing because just going up 2-1. Oh, then if Risk win, then you've got 3 teams at 2-1 suddenly, and everybody's beat everybody. And that's why this group is really confusing right now, because no matter who wins this one, what matters really is who wins next. I believe if Smoke Break win and Food Drive win, though, that's pretty much as cut and dry as it can go. And I think if pretty much either of them go 3, that also ends up helping things out no matter what, because as you saw, it's 4-0-0 -4. If they either all end up at -2 or all end up at +2, that's complicated. But like a 3 is somewhere in there, maybe a -1 somewhere in there. Like those are good numbers here to maybe realistically just make it a little easier for those guys down there more than anything, because they'll just have to play more Smite to try and figure it out. One of the teams we're talking about, though, Smoke Break, just look at them. This is a squad that is incredibly powerful. They bring in LAN as a support for this LAN. I believe Silence played with them throughout a lot of it. And realistically, we were even talking about it before we knew that. It felt like this was going to be a LAN-style team, really, really strong, because you've got, Benko, Deathwalker, Johnny already. And now you add in somebody else to empower more shot calling, someone who's been on LAN quite a few times as well, and it just feels like Smoke Break leveled up.
They've played great. They really have. I mean, them 2-0ing Risk to start this tournament for themselves was unbelievable and a great start. But then I do feel like, I don't know if they got too comfortable, too confident, or what really happened in that set up against Food Drive, but I do think that I was expecting a little bit more from them in that set. In particular, I want to see more from Johnny in this game. I thought that Valo played so well for Food Drive, playing those objectives with that Nemesis, but Johnny just was not getting as involved as I feel like we know he can be. Obviously, how that dual lane is played has been really impressive, as long as Echrome is, buying a relic. And as long as we see that happen, and we see Johnny play the way we know he's capable of, we should be chilling here on Smoke.
I remember there was a panic of like, oh, did something go wrong? Why doesn't he have it? And then literally
something
asking
went wrong.
Yeah, he just didn't do it, as it turns out. And I'm sure that we're gonna get to the bottom of that. I actually think it was specifically Echrome who was standing by now for an interview.
Yeah, Dolson down here in the booth with Echrome. Echrome, still a chance for this team to grab first seed or high seed going into Vegas from this group. How important do you think it is? Find a win. I know there's going to maybe be some tiebreakers over the horizon as this team just focused on one game at a time, trying to put yourself in the best position you can.
I mean, so I hope Risk is going to win 2-0, so we still have a chance to get seed 1, of course. Yeah. But right now we're focused on this game.
Well, focusing on this game, team on the other side of the booth, how do you understand their gameplay? Do you feel like they play through dual lane a lot? What is the team focused on in this matchup?
I think everyone plays from dual lane lately, so
fair enough.
We will do that as well. We have to, I guess.
You bring in LAN for this event. How's that worked out for you two over on the duo side?
Really good, actually. It's super good vibes. That's a really good player as well. It's enjoying to play with him, so everything is good.
Been fun to watch. Echrome, best of luck in the game. And go back to the desk.
It's nice to hear that. One of the things we talked about and kind of joked about, that the only true danger of having Leon next to you in the booth is that he might have too strong of a grip, or he might hit you too hard in hype, and it might hurt a little bit as it goes forward. I mean, you've got someone who brings shot calls, but we're talking about it because you can see it in games sometimes, like that energy, that just hype. It really lifts everybody up around you.
It's huge. It's really important to have on a team, especially in a LAN environment where, the days can be a little bit longer. You might have some tech issues that are going to make you delay and all that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden you're kind of out of your element. Having someone who's high energy, who's there, who's excited, sitting right next to you, who's, dapping you up when you make a sick play, doing the things you're supposed to be doing, it really brings a lot of energy for you, and I think that it's been clear that has helped this team.
Yeah, and the way this team has not just stepped up, but coalesced, despite the fact that they came in with a support change.
Yes.
Which is, that's not a small role to change out. Admittedly, it's something that the LATAM teams know pretty well. Malvinas and Los Lille, who we're going to be looking at here, coming in with some changes from their roster that they didn't experience there in LATAM. So that has been something for them to overcome. But on top of that, the farm game has really been the other part of that. Los Lille specifically, they were stepping up and fighting, and whether they were down 5,000 gold or not, their team fight mechanics were so on point that even in games where they were down 7,000, you'd look up and it's 8-8, it's 10-10. They were still finding kills. It was just closing that gap. Eventually, it would be too much to really overcome, despite how well you can fight.
I mean, this team, we've seen those flashes, like you mentioned, and I think that this Smoke Break team is one that, yes, they've played well, but they also looked pretty mortal yesterday up against Food Drive, and you've seen how Food Drive beat them. Now you've got a blueprint to follow, and I think that not only is it getting your feet under you and understanding how it feels to play on LAN and what that's going to feel like in Smite 2 in particular, but getting more familiar with playing against these players, especially for the LATAM versus the EMEA teams, who there is very little chance that there's been a lot of crossover and playing against one another in ranked or in scrims or anything along those lines. I think it's a great boon for Los Lille that Food Drive played so well up against Smoke Break and really broke them down on film for them to be able to watch and say, hey, here was a weakness that we identified. Oh, look at what Food Drive did here. We can try and copy some of that. We know that they like to do this type of thing. Because Smoke Break is a team that is difficult to prep for if you haven't done your homework. If you just go into a game against Smoke Break, Benko is going to be doing something weird over in solo lane. Johnny plays a very particular way. These are things that you have to have done your homework on, or else they're going to make you look pretty silly. But you just got great film to watch from yesterday of them getting 2-0'd. So hopefully Los Leo was able to do some prep.
And based on how we've talked to them, yeah, that's like the number one thing they kept saying is they'd go back, they watch their game, hey, what did we do wrong? They'd watch their opponent's game and say, hey, where are they making mistakes? What can we exploit here to try and take them down? And we'll find out, because I think it all starts here in picks and bans for Game 1, Smoke Break versus Los Leo. And of course, we've been looking at this. Bans, I'm done trying to predict them, because every single time I try, something goes absolutely completely different. Yamoja maybe would have been on that list. Sobek seems to be up there as well, although it's changed from team to team. And like you said, Smoke Break, they just play a little different than a lot of these. And actually, that's one that I was kind of hoping was going to make it through, because I really wanted to talk about it. One that got highlighted to me early on in discussion for Los Leo was actually them playing the Morrigan. Their mid laner being very adept at it. It's something that I haven't really gotten to see a whole ton of, and I know for a while they played through mid. It feels like everyone's agreed right now. Maybe duo lane seems to be where some of the sparks are flying. And Smokebreak are going to start off with a Sobek who can flex to either.
I love it. I think Sobek has looked incredibly potent. I'd be shocked if this doesn't go to Benko. I mean, Elio can certainly play it, but he's looked so unstoppable. And it opens you up to proxy easily on Sobek. It's so hard to kill him early. I think this is a great start for Smokebreak. But they've been prioritizing Loki a lot for Johnny, so I feel like this is interesting to see where he's going to go next. And Loki and Fenrir together really limits Johnny's options on what he's going to go in the jungle, right? You're going to be looking at something like Thanatos probably a little bit later.
It also makes things really interesting for what matchup's going to be what. I mean, I guess we've seen Loki, we've not really seen flex outside of the jungle. Fenrir we've seen in support. Fenrir we've seen in solo. And so there's options here for Los Leo. Carnanos, Poseidon, pretty standard right now down the list for Smokebreak. Again, maybe the Sobek presumably going towards solo, but with Poseidon in the mid lane, you've got big AoE team fight. You've got Carnanos, big AoE team fight. It does feel like they're going to be able to combo with a Sobek pretty easily.
All three of these gods have CC in their kits. They've all got solid damage. They've got a good amount of survivability. Poseidon, the movement speed, Sobek and Carnanos with dashes.
Zooming.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I think that Smokebreak's top three are looking quite solid so far.
Jingwei, Bacchus locked in. Bacchus is someone who confuses me, but in the right ways, which is that you go back a few months ago, he was just a powerhouse, locked in for solo a lot of the time.
Yep.
And then he just disappeared for a while. So what is it he's bringing to this? And do you think he does anything specifically against the top three that Smokebreak have?
It does put a little bit of pressure on the Carnanos, because not having CC immunity into something with the long duration CC like Intoxicate is pretty annoying for him to deal with. It makes it hard for him to land those autos during the team fights. I think that Bacchus did fall off pretty hard after some pretty hefty nerfs, particularly to his damage. But I know that Elion has also played a good amount of it during this tournament. So I think it's a nod towards what Elion has played while still needing something on the side of Los Leo.
If danger sets foot on my doorway, I'll destroy it.
Athena,
it's
Ama,
quite simple, really.
Sobek. In a normal world, I'm thinking Sobek support, Ama solo, Athena jungle, but sometimes things get jumbly. Is that going to be right? Is that where you'd put these?
I would expect, personally, Sobek solo, Athena support, Ama jungle. That would be my expectation. But could be Athena jungle. I mean, we know Johnny from Smite 1 as the hyper carry guy, right?
Yeah.
Alquang is the signature pick for a reason. Those aren't really setup characters. Those are get in there and get all the kills types of characters, and neither Athena nor Amaterasu are really great for that style of play. But I don't know. I think that either way, Smokebreak has a very easy front to back composition, no matter how they set it up.
Yeah, no matter where they go, you've got the team fight. You can kind of pick one at the drop of a hat. Los Leo, they need to find some wins. Smokebreak want theirs as well. The only way to find out what happens is to go to our casters for Game 1.
We are right back in with a must-win game here. Los Leo got to win this best of 3 for a chance to stick around in Vegas. Smokebreak talked to E-Chrome in the pregame interview, hoping to win this one quickly. Also looking for Team Risk to win their matchup quickly later on today. That'll open up a whole door for tiebreakers, all that sort of stuff later on. We'll get there when we get there. For now, inbound, we're focused on game number 1. Smokebreak probably favor them going into it. How do you like their draft?
I like what they've done here. And something that we saw yesterday with Leon, he played this exact matchup, the Bacchus into the Sobek, and he really does not like it. He thinks Sobek is just phenomenal. He thinks it's one of the best characters, and there's multiple reasons why. This character's level 1. I mean, the clear's not great, but you have threat potential on the map to kill one pluck, especially into a Bacchus, who hopefully starts 2, because that's something that Leon got messed up with starting that 3. If you have that, there's just nothing the Bacchus can really do. You pair that with the Cernanos, a lot of CC, a lot of damage. My eyes, I'm looking at the dual lane for most of this, because that's the most exciting part of this map, and they said it on the desk. Dual lane seems to be the most important part for most teams.
I wonder what's going to happen here. Bit of a trap being set, maybe, by Zonkui and Decoy. Maybe a red buff invade for now, just a wave proxy. So an interesting start for the Los Leo right-hand side of the map. Poseidon farming up the right side of the jungle, and an invade for Smoke Break over here on the left, looking towards purple, but nobody's going to end up picking up the buff. And so inbound all across the map right now. Interesting starts from essentially every lane.
And this is the no invaders curse. This allows you to kind of make plays around the map and set up the jungling how you want to. I mean, we saw on the right side, Zonkui, Decoy got that proxy. They look for the invade on right side. That guarantees right side of the map for the most part over onto Decoy and Zonkui. A lot of damage to the Poseidon.
What is that? Level 2 for Decoy. Sept 7 forced into the beads.
Wait, Johnny?
Maybe a chance for first blood. A blink forward, and Decoy snags it. Sept 7 jumped on Poseidon. Never get more mobile, and what a start for Los Leo. They walk into mid lane level 1, level 2 in the jungle, and it's first blood.
And this is what that jungling sets up. You don't know entirely where people are going to be starting. You don't know when they're going to be hitting level 2. It puts both of the mid laner behind, but the Loki is able to out-clear a little bit faster. He gets to mid lane faster, and he threatens Sept 7. And as you said, no actual movement on that Poseidon. So you just get that free kill, and now you're off to the races, and not just jungle, but mid lane also. Joel is now free farming through this. Decoy is now going to be a slightly higher step ahead of Johnny. And as Agro said on the desk, Johnny is a very pivotal part of this Smoke Break team. A lot of the times he's the one making the plays. Right here you're seeing a dash taunt. Yep. No real follow-up here, but he's the one making plays.
Johnny now in range. Decoy, a little bit of shielding. One more auto from Sept 7. He'll hit it eventually. And so returning the favor now is the Poseidon. Johnny doing his best to sidestep the damage. Does so. All the abilities missing. Now Joel in some trouble. Johnny back in on a taunt. And Sept 7, a double kill handed over. Talk about a flip of the script. It was a great start for Los Leo in mid. And now all across the map, kills dropping, a 3-kill swing for Smoke Break.
And it's a disaster fight in mid. You're fighting this Poseidon, who once he gets level 3, level 4, he has that consistent damage, the auto-attack threat, and a character like Hecate does not have that consistent damage. He's got a little bit of burst, but even at this point, the utility comes from that shield, and it's just not enough points into it to give you that full actual shield to be a threat in those 2v2s. And even if Athena's not a character that, provides a ton of damage at this point, it's enough pairing it with that Poseidon. And on the left side, you get that pluck. Again, it's just an impossible match.
Man, what is going on here in mid? Sept 7, the latest to die. Decoy and Johnny both inbound have just kind of set up a tent over here in mid. Johnny a bit late to the party. But still, something about this mid lane right now makes it a great target for these junglers.
I like this because they keep getting Sap's beads down, or he just doesn't have that ability to walk up and play as safe as most other characters, so you're just punishing him. And this is before Decoy even hits level 5. Joel is level 5 now also, and you got a few seconds still left on that Poseidon. But if Decoy can hit level 5, you could pretty easily bait out the ultimate. Sap again.
We're fighting early and often. Is Sept 7 going to fall to 0-3?
He ulted him out. He ulted him out.
Get down. Joel, no, it's a disaster. Cleans it up. Thank goodness. The side flip, it was real awkward there for a moment. Leon sends one back on the pluck, but it's a 3 versus 2 here in the purple buff. Decoy has been active from minute 1. Nearly took a spot on the bench, but able to go back, take a breather, and reset.
And this is why you get this Sobek Cernanos laning phase. These are the two characters that pre-5, very few characters can match their threat in terms of damage, in terms of CC, especially Bacchus, Jingwei, not characters that can match. I mean, they even rotate over Decoy to try to confirm this purple buff. and Elion is still happy plucking into that because of just how safe he is in this 2v2. And we talked about a little bit earlier, Elion with this Sobek, there was potential of Sobek going over to Benko. I like it in support. It allows you to just dominate this lane, and dual lane has shown that it is the most impactful early game. We see around 5 minutes, a lot of teams like instantly going for a Gold Fury, especially when they pair it with this Cernanos. And something that we heard yesterday is Smokebreak took some of these ideas that Globe have, and they have brought them to the forefront. Valo, a lot of times, taking Naga and then going to objectives and doing them. So now I want to see Smokebreak also do that. Play for those Nagas and then go to the camps. You have good damage.
Yep.
Poseidon, you have Cernanos. You've got Amaterasu even. You can shred objectives.
Johnny, taunt, Kraken, up. That's on to Joel. Sept melted by Decoy on the assassinate, and now Johnny left walking away. Every kill so far this game for Los Lil has found its way onto Sept. Sept has beads. I don't know what beads are going to do for you there. Doesn't matter. Held on to him, so at least you got him for a regank. But 2 and 4 now for Sept 7. Decoy has made his target very well known.
And not even Decoy. Zonqui's even made rotations over to try to put down Sept. And this is the weakness of Poseidon. Very strong character if you're the one making those aggressive plays. You're the one setting down the Krakens with your 3. But if the fight's kind of brought to Poseidon, and he doesn't have a ton of peel with his teammates around him, and the Sobek hasn't rotated in, the Athena's dash taunting aggressively, this is not a safe character. And so I like what Los Lil has kind of identified. And the best part about all of this is, through this weekend, we've talked about Los Lil. They make good plays, but the issue is after those good plays, they overextend after, and they try to get too much stuff. This game, they're getting that pick, and then they're just going back to farming. I love this adjustment from Los Lil.
Yeah, can't get too greedy in those moments. We find an advantage. Benko and Zonqui battling it out. Over in solo, dazzling offensive would have gotten the job done. Not in range. Decoy. A spyglass turned towards mid all game long, but now for the first time, eyes for Benko. Assassinate, not ready, and wishes he had it. Oh, he does have it. And out he goes, but down he goes anyway. Last bit of damage is in, and finally this Loki's been dealt with, and over in mid it gets worse. Johnny all over the map, and now it's Smokebreak pulling back the momentum.
And I hate it. I hate the play by Decoy there. Maybe actually damage on a Benko.
Ooh.
The Sunder, he's shielded just in time. The last Sunder proc does not kill through the shield. But back to previously with this Loki looking for that fight, I hate looking for that engage before your Loki ultimate is up. You're not a strong character pre-ultimate. Yes, you have solid base damage, but you don't have that survivability.
Whoa.
There's just a kill here.
Whoa, Johnny just needs one more auto, and who's gonna get it? Johnny every single time. This has been a battle in the jungle. Pace being set, gauntlet thrown down, Johnny and Decoy answering one another. And now this Athena inbound, a 2-level lead and on a killing spree. Is that now giving some confidence, wow, to Sept 7 and E-Chrome to pull this Gold Fury, but it is a quick response from Los Lil. Everyone who's able to respond, working towards that Gold Fury, so maybe had enough damage, but just not enough time for Smokebreak.
Exactly that, not enough time. Los Lil, I like that they're still showing up to these objectives. They're still contesting in some fights. They're not really giving anything up to Smokebreak. It's still just a couple overextends here, a couple overextends there, and maybe a little bit more defensive plays. I think it just helps them out a little bit. And you look at these solo lane builds, I mean, compare Kin size to Sunbeam Bow in the early game, it's night and day. Kin's is a late game item, and Zonqui's itemized into this, which is, I mean, I would say it's not the most great early game item, even in a matchup like this, but he's going to be farming it for the late game. But so far we've seen Benko just dominating this lane, and it's going to continue, and that's the Naga we see. Now I want to see them go to objectives. We've got the Naga, that's step one. Now step two is going to an objective and extending your lead. Do not slow down, extend it.
No, and it's important to point out that lead inbound because we have had plenty of kills. It's felt very back and forth on the map, but it's some of those unspoken moments, the farm, the invades. 3K plus for Smokebreak. It has started to slowly, I wouldn't say out of control yet, but build up in favor of Smokebreak. And so maybe around one of these objectives we'll really see that come to fruition. Zonqui over from solo, teleport gonna be behind E-Chrome, but guess who's behind the solo laner? It's the rest of Smokebreak. Ragnarok
That's gonna pull back Echrome. Echrome lives, that is unbelievable. It's a double kill for LAN. And now Decoy in the Lion's Den blinks away from the Kraken, and that may be the last thing he does. Dory, great, you're gonna live, but the rest of your team has fallen by the wayside. I got it wrong, and it should be a deicide, all but as Joel is respawned. The stealth for Decoy doing some work, but a great team fight nonetheless for Smokebreak.
And this is, again, Los Leal's taking these fights, and Joel has no thought in his mind with rotating there. Sept's already on that rotation over. It's just a bad fight attempted by Los Leal there. They were the ones kind of running into the enemy jungle. They were the ones that kind of looking for that fight with Zhongqi. But little did they know, Benko had already made that rotation. He was already there ready to fight.
Oh my goodness, Johnny just melts. And another kill for the Athena jungle. Boxy is not in much better of a spot. There is just too much damage from Smokebreak right now. Feels like every taunt is met with an onslaught. 4-0-4. Benko's reached the point where he's soloing Zhongqi over in solo lane. Inbound, we're starting to come apart at the seams a little bit here after what was such a great early game from Los Leal. These last 2 or 3 jungle engagements have just not looked good, and a Gold Fury is going to make that all that much worse.
And Smokebreak is finally doing what needs to be done. They're taking the fights on their terms. They're no longer allowing Los Leal to bully out Sept. They're taking the fight out of the mid lane, which is exactly what they need to do, and they're moving it to the side lanes. And this is where they have those leads. So it's good to see them fighting around the side lanes, fighting around this Sobek and this Amaterasu. And Los Leal, they have to keep taking the fight to the Athena. A lot of the times we see this Athena ult in, and she's the one that's able to kind of extend the fights or make it a 4v3 instead of a 3v3. But I mean, at this point, can you even take the fight on the Athena? 4-0-4, 3 levels up on Decoy. Decoy is not a character at this point. There's a lot of value in some junglers, even when they're behind. Loki's not one of them.
How many people are you bringing with if you're trying to roll up on Benko right now? You're Los Leal, you're trying to show, you got to bring everyone?
You have to bring 5 to kill Benko. He is way too far ahead. And even then, he has the survivability and the CC immunity to live a fight like that. Right. I don't think you're killing Benko on the sideline. Your only opportunity is probably on Ecrom and maybe Sept, I guess.
Win a numbers advantage, see if you can snowball it from there. Smokebreak. This is a team that has really established a pace. That pace will continue over in solo. Zhongqi forced into ultimate and the leap away, but guess who's chasing you down? It's Benko. And the Ragnarok delays the inevitable. Rampage for Johnny. No killing spree yet for Benko. Good news for Los Leal, not much on the map to be fought over right now. No immediate objectives over on right. Just more gold over to Smokebreak, but a slight envelopment now forming. Can Dory get enough initial damage onto Ecrom here? I'm not sure, because this is what Johnny can do. Just ult on in, and look at how scared Los Leal are. See that Athena ult, tuck tail, and head for the tower.
My issue is your front line is not tanky enough to live a dash taunt. Dash taunt hits Bacchus, he's dead. Dash taunt hits the Fenrir. Fenrir is also going to be dying. Makes Johnny being in any fight, or even able to walk up, or even Elion walk up, threatening.
Joel, open the gates. That pulls Johnny underneath the tier 1 tower. At least a 1-level lead in mid compared to Johnny, but again, Johnny 5-0, plenty of gold. Defensive ult, that looked kind of nice. And this is what an Athena jungle can do, especially when someone as aggressive as Johnny's playing it.
Yeah, and if I'm Los Leal at this point, this is one of those spots where you have a pretty far behind in most places. Joel is still in a good spot, though. Joel is actually up a level. The build is not in a great spot yet, still only 2 items, but they still have an opportunity to be in a fine spot in this game. Joel is that spot, and you have the late game. You'll be fine in the later portions of the game if you can get there, but the side lanes need to live at this point, and the side lanes need to kind of look for these proxies and avoiding fights, because we've seen Deathwalker roll up on Zhongqi a few times and just burst him down. And the same thing can be said in the side lanes. Boxy can't really walk up without getting plucked and killed. Dory does have that slightly more survivability with that 3, but you have one avenue really back into this game, and it's through Joel, but that's not going to be for a few more minutes. He needs another item or 2.
Man, needs a lot right now as Decoy assassinates one of them. Blink away, but guess who is here? It's LAN. Is there going to be a block? No, Decoy has gotten out of trouble a couple of times. Going to have to really pull a rabbit out of the hat here, or Smokebreaker just going to get bored. Hard to chase that far when you're not sure what's on the other end. So Decoy had a good start to this game. Inbound felt like all that pressure was landing on a Sept 7. And the question, you know, a few minutes later is always, okay, for what? Well, Sept's a little bit down, but not so down that you would think, you know, an 0-4, 1-4 Poseidon was. Feels like Sept has been able to stabilize just fine. Zonkui over to left from Solo. A little bit of poke damage is all we'll find.
And I think highlighting the early portion of what Los Lil did, it was to bully out this Poseidon, and they did it very well.
Absolutely.
But then they kind of went away from it, and they started looking on those side lanes, and it was Smokebreak saying, you want to take the fight to side lanes? I'm fine with that. That's actually where we're stronger, and they took it away from Sept 7. Sept 7 is still not in a great spot, and he's not a hard character to kill, but it seems like another fight in side lane.
Yeah, anywhere Benko is, kills sure to follow. Dash from Dory, belly flop out. This one's simple for Echrome and Smokebreak and the rest of the left side. This is now just fun to watch. Keep your eyes on Benko, especially when the dazzling offensive is out. Open the gates. Well, you got a couple members of Smokebreak waiting for you on the other side. Delaying the inevitable, I suppose. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, at least there was nothing on the map to fight for. There is now. It's a Gold Fury. 10,000 plus gold inbound, and this be a mountain of damage for Decoy to deal with. Maybe a Fire Giant here shortly as well. That lead is now just far too big.
Yeah, we're hitting the disaster area of the game. Los Lil is not in a spot where they can come back from this game. You eventually hit this spot where if you're winning the game enough, you're snowballing enough, it's now on you to make that mistake. Smokebreak, they go for this Fire Giant. They're going to be looking to group up. Los Lil, no one really in the area looking for a steal on this. And this puts Smokebreak in a position to win this game. They have a massive gold lead. And you compare it, if you look for the actual fights on these towers, on these Phoenixes, how is Los Lil even going to win these fights? Maybe fishing for something with the Hecate, but I mean, Bacchus flops in. Bacchus is dying before the flop even lands. Same thing with Fenrir, who's only 2 items deep at this 16-minute mark, which is insane. There is very little positivity with this game with Los Lil at this point. But I do, thinking back to that early portion, there was a lot of positives with Los Lil.
Beads used by Sept.
This is good. That's good.
Boy being pulled back. What can you get? You got Zonkui with the Ragnarok.
They have the damage.
Sure don't, because Johnny has joined the fight. It's the Athena ult that's going to drop right behind Boxy. 0-4 on the Bacchus and an unstoppable Athena jungle. Every once in a while you get reminded of what a full damage Athena can do when played at its best. The reminder is very clear here inbound. And what's tough about Johnny, this is not a pick you would typically use one of your one bans on against this guy. He's just far too talented and far too diverse of a god pool. Right side Phoenix, that's the target. Los Lil only got a couple members here defending, and now it's one less. Dory evaporated. And it looks like Smokebreak will take a break before continuing their pressure.
Yeah, a little too early looking for the end. They've got the towers still up, but breaking the base at this point, having a little bit more time still left on this Fire Giant. They're going to be playing for more here. There's very low risk in actually going for another tower. There's low risk in even going for the tier 2s because you have such a massive, massive lead. Even if you somehow lose a fight going for these towers, there's nothing Los Lil can do with it. Fire's down, maybe you can go get Pyromancer. So I like that Smokebreak is still pushing this game, trying to speed it up. The one thing you don't want to do is play the game too slow to allow Los Lil to farm it back up. On the side lanes, you've seen Zonkui just kind of farming, giving up everything. There's, again, really nothing Los Lil can do at this point. Smokebreak has to make multiple misplays.
Yeah, at this point, inbound, one of the hardest things to do is chair 2 a game that has gone completely 180 upside down, and it's just an outplay. Smokebreak have approached that, and they've done so a few moments ago. It's the style of gameplay as well. When you think of Smokebreak and, I mean, this roster, not the exact roster, but some of the cornerstones of this team been playing together in the SCC days of past, and I think back to like some of those slower, more drawn out, you know, very methodical play around the map. And that was some of their games, but this is certainly no secret. When you get Johnny on your team, you want to play active often. Another death for Sept. Something poetic about it, I guess, but there's always been follow-up from Benko. And that is a 9-level lead. Do not scratch your eyes. Level 20 for Benko to the 11 of Boxy. even if it weren't a Fed Amaterasu, that's a hard level deficit to fight into. And inbound, this is starting to maybe get towards game-ending siege territory. These individual kills just kind of falling across the map, the conveyor belt style, may seal this game before Los Leo even get a chance to defend their Titan.
And I actually like to play onto Sept just to, I mean, it slows down the siege. You get that pick. Maybe if it's a 1-for-1, that's another good kill onto Benko. This is going to be slowing the game down even more.
Come on.
It was kind of close. It was kind of close.
It was closer than it could have been. Divine, though, for Johnny nonetheless. And the shutdown onto Benko, at least only a 4-0 shutdown. Really trying to protect that 9-0. Not that it ends the game the other way, but that's a chunk of gold you want to avoid giving over. And now finally someone joins Sap 7 in the death column. I think Sap may be more concerned about that. The only one who's died up to this point, and now Benko joins him.
And Los Lil, I mean, again, they've identified something they can do rather easily is kill Sap. Sap is even getting the Athena ults used onto him to try to survive those dives. And they have the CC to do this. I mean, the issue is how many times you have to kill this Poseidon to really get back into the game. Sap's not even the most useful character. He's not even top 3 on the team right now. If you kill him, it's not doing much. But, I mean, as you said, a shutdown onto Athena, there is something there. The problem is she's decently tanky. She's level 20.
We've reached that point in the game.
You're not really going to be able to kill her. No beads, though, so I guess there is. Actually, that's something I want to see. I want to see them, instead of looking for Sap, find Johnny. There is an opportunity to kill Johnny with your damage. Like, you're getting farther enough into your build. Decoy's got 3 items. Johnny's been splitting a lot. I almost want to see Loso give up this Fire Giant, make a grouping in left, and just look for Johnny. Because what's worse that happens? You don't kill Johnny, they get Fire Giant anyway? Who cares? Let's just try to find Johnny and kill Johnny.
A lot of lines on that health bar. That concerned me. Johnny over on the left side. A 2-man Fire Giant. Easy enough when Benko is as strong as he is. And E-Chrome far enough into the build on this Cernanos. So second Fire Giant of the game. 21 minutes. 21 kills potentially for Johnny as he is demolishing Decoy on the left side. 3-level lead here in the jungle. Not quite find Johnny. You know, you want everyone to find Johnny, right? Not just the one. And so Fire Giant, a kill, a Kraken, another kill, conveyor belt for Smoke Break. And inbound, I'm thinking the inevitable has maybe arrived here. Smoke Break are going to group up as 5 underneath the mid lane. Phoenix and start to burn down Los Leo. Immortal for Johnny. It's been the story of the game. Mid lane started off contended. This game ends with Smoke Break convincingly in just over 20 minutes, barring the catastrophic, and I don't think we'll get there. Game 1 to Smoke Break.
And this is an all-around good play by Smoke Break. Yes, maybe a misplay here or there, and a little bit of farming in the fountain, but a little bit of misplays maybe here or there in the early game. Sap playing a little bit disrespectful, causes him to get a few deaths, and a good play by Decoy actually in that early portion of the game to get a few kills onto Sap, but I mean, they just didn't really do too much with it. And then they got those first few kills, and then they didn't go back to that spot. They tried to fight on the side lanes, which the side lanes were the 2 worst spots to fight on. Fighting in the jungle is even a better opportunity than fighting in the side lanes. Fighting into a Fed Sobek, a Fed Cern, a Fed Amaterasu, while being behind, it's not gonna do it for you.
Yeah, it's interesting because so much of that early game was Sap, mid lane, jump on the Poseidon. There's just a shift outside of that. And some of it, I imagine, is you have to respond to what Smokebreak are giving you. They started forcing those fights maybe on the outside of the map. This is a Smokebreak team, recentered themselves and clearly found a game plan, refound their game plan that's worked for them in the past. Again, I think it's so difficult when you look back towards, okay, let's assess picks and bans for the next game, because with the one ban, with how diverse Johnny's God pool is, Benko so strong on so many different characters, it's a really tough equation, I think, for Los Leo to figure out.
Yeah, and I want them to go back to the Loki. I think the Loki is one of the few things that I've been consistently good with. I think Decoy looks really strong on it, and I didn't mind the Hecate. I think the Fenrir is something that I think they look away from. Maybe don't give up the Sobek or pick the Sobek, ban the Sobek, because as Aggro said on desk, Sobek is really strong right now in solo or support.
It's a gotta have it game number 2 for Los Leo. Will they get it? Stick around to find out.
Immortals have invaded my realm, and my children rebel against me. Dark days these are. But my strength shall bring resolution, and my lightning, illumination! Zeus!
Bellona.
Anubis!
Sora. Kukulkan.
Sept.
That's right, you can go to StarForgeSystems.com now and pick up one of the best PCs in the universe. If you're like me, last year I bought a new PC because my old one was like 6 years old at that point, and you just need a new shell because what you got is just this plain slate black boring monolith. This comes empty as well, so you can get it at an empty shell. You can get it pre-made as well with some fantastic parts. Yeah, that's computer parts that are in the inside. I was like, my brain wanted to give them a different name, whether it's a graphics card or the CPU or even just hella RAM. Like they got it all. Starforge Systems knows how to put it together, and it looks fantastic. Also has the customizable God plate on the inside that illuminates. It looks really good. It's a nice little light piece for us. Having it over on the set, honestly, but probably is a shame and a waste of such a good computer. Although I do think it's hooked up to one of the monitors.
Well,
there, so.
Enjoy it, because when I leave on Monday,
it's coming with you.
that PC might be missing.
Just like, man, it's really crazy. We have all these cameras in here, but they all seem to turn off for some reason Sunday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m.
So weird. I don't know. Has anyone seen Aggro absolutely dominating, by the way, in Smite 2 recently? That's weird.
Especially, I mean, for you, doubly, because it's got Zeus on the side. I'm now just looking at the one we have over there.
I'm looking at it, too.
I think ours has the Scylla plate on the inside, though I'm assuming we probably have the other. Yeah, it's another mid laner. That's fine for you.
Not a problem.
Speaking of another mid laner that was fine, Sap. Well, actually, there were a couple of moments for Sap early on where things weren't too fine. But outside of the first 7 minutes, Smokebreak just ran the show.
Yeah, 4 members of Smokebreak had near flawless games. Sap, unfortunately, was kind of sacrificed in order to make that happen. But overall, Smokebreak just absolutely dominates. I really liked Los Leal's start. And it worked really well because Sap did not see Decoy coming and where his gank was going. But what seems to happen to these Latin American teams is they get off to these good starts and then they just feel like they have to keep the momentum going and then just end up in one bad fight, a second bad fight, a third bad fight, and now the game's out of hand. Mm-hmm. And in particular against this comp for Smokebreak, Decoy cannot afford to fall behind. You've got 3 tanks on the other side and an Athena ult on the 2 squishies that you're gonna have to figure out a way to kill them. You cannot afford to fall behind in the Athena jungle. Decoy gets off to a great start and then chases too far on the right-hand side, and when he respawns, he's down 2 levels all of a sudden. And his game was just over from that point, and as was the rest of Los Leals.
Yeah, there was one fight. It was a 3v3 at the purple buff. And, Fenrir goes, picks someone up, and then the Athena ult gets channeled. And right as they get dropped, it's just like this detonation. 3 people die, just all in the blink of an eye. And then poor Jing Wei was just up in the sky.
She's like,
nowhere to
I
go.
don't want to go anywhere around here, actually.
There's just no good choices for you. Smokebreak, yeah, they found a lot of control. I guess it must have been Sap that I heard one of the players when they walked by say, I died more in that game than I have this LAN. It must have been
Had to have been Sap
because he was the only one who had enough.
Yes, yeah, that was the only one it could have been.
But that's not the, I guess, end of the road, right? Los Leal have a good chance to try and turn it around. That's kind of been the conversation for a lot of this is, okay, you took your lumps. What did you learn from that? What are you going to change? Because it's not just draft, although there's definitely part of that. Like, the draft felt a little weird. Fenrir Solo hasn't been super successful historically.
No, not necessarily my favorite pick. And I think that with the God pool the size that it is right now in Smite 2, teams are able to come very prepared for what you're going to bring the vast majority of the time, right? Loki has been the most popular, most successful jungler on CA7. Okay, let's just pick 3 tanks. One of them's Athena, and now we've got 3 tanks and an ultimate that can really mitigate what Loki wants to do. That's going to make your life pretty difficult. So now it puts you in another bad spot where it's like, okay, well, Loki was the pick that we thought we wanted. Now we're not so sure because we only have 1 ban. We can't afford to really take away all of these different tanks. I mean, the Morrigan ban that LoSleo did in that game, you know, you were saying that their mid laner Joel really likes to play it. I feel like Sobek is the god I'd probably look to ban here if I'm them. Just take one of those premier tanks away, especially because it gives Smokebreak so much flexibility, and then see what you can do to give yourself just a way to get to 15 minutes where the game is still playable. That's trying to kill their Titan at this point is too far down the road. Let's get even at 15, and then you can just win. These players know how to win Smite games, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to complicate it. Simplify the game down to let's get to 15 minutes where the game is playable for us, and whatever happens from there can happen from there.
I know one of the things I was going to talk about was maybe going to be just the fact that you had touched on it, the flexibility Smokebreak had. And the fact that in the past what we've said, and this was actually important, not just for the LATAM teams here, but in the past, anytime we've had international regions, when we've seen a lot of success, I'm thinking you go back to Worlds 1, Worlds 2, and you'd have the Chinese teams coming over, and you know what? They're locking in Anubis because it worked really good in their own meta. And when they were trying to play what everyone was playing on LAN, it didn't look too great. But when he locked in Anubis, guess what? He was going absolutely crazy. And so there is that level where maybe some comfort picks could be the call, but we'll find out. LoSleo picks and bans game 2. First pick for us. They ban Athena up front, and then Hades is banned from Smokebreak. Sobek first pick, so if they're not going to ban it, at least take it away.
I think it's the right call, because if you give up Sobek Umoja, you're not feeling great about your chances.
No, you're not.
Right? You are not a happy camper. So I feel like you're priced into the Sobek pick. It still leaves you flexible. You know, this can go to Zhonghui, this can go to boxing. You've got options for where it can go, but it's not going to be simple for you either way.
Well, Umoja gets locked in response. Alongside Kernanos, and I'm going to be honest with the aggro, outside of, hey, there's the duo lane, it's really not revealing too much. That's just been a standard kind of couple of picks for the whole weekend.
No, Kernanos has been super popular, and for good reason. He's seen a lot of success, just kind of brings everything you need. Umoja is Umoja. Insert any SPL rant from the last, 5 years of why Umoja's so good, why it's really hard to play against her. And
realistically, we should have made a soundboard years ago.
We really could have. And one of her premier matchups that she doesn't like the most, like in Baron Samdi, is banned now for the rest of this tournament. So it makes the Umoja pick that much safer.
Luckily for Sobek, at least he can slip through the wall sometimes with his ult, but that's true. That's such a very limited thing. You know what? I'm going to ask you about this too. I feel like with how prominent Odin and Umoja have been, I would have expected like a Rise and Phantom Shell and things like that, and it just feels like that's been ignored, for the Sunders anyway.
Yeah, Sunder is just really important. You need a certain amount of Sunders in order to threaten objectives or make sure that enemies can't just do objectives in your face. Yeah. And then I could get my team out, or I could have Blink and be able to get myself out or make a different play, that's a little bit more aggressive or more versatily defensive. It is a very long cooldown, and I don't disagree. Phantom Shell probably a little underrepresented
we
here.
try our hardest.
We'll see. I don't think we're going to get at this game, if I'm being completely honest. But we'll find out. Loki and Ama, so they take a pick that you had already kind of highlighted as something powerful.
Well,
strip something away. Again, this is LoSleo taking it away from Smokebreak. Jingwei, again, taking it away, although there's already a Kernanos on the other side. And then Hecate to close things out. Not necessarily a bad draft. Bologna and the Morrigan show up on the other side, and I'm way more curious about those two.
Well, how about this one? Danza Burrow. It's going to be Danza Jungle, I guess. Could be Morrigan Jungle, Danza ADC, Kern mid, something like that. I don't know. I'm not going to waste our time trying to guess. We'll find out soon enough anyways.
Johnny, I will actually, throwing it out there, which one do you think maybe could fit into solo more? Because Johnny has played Bologna in the jungle. I think he did it a couple months ago.
It could be Danza or Kernos solo. It theoretically could be. I just see Bologna on a team with Benko, aka Deathwalker, and I'm
go.
thinking, yeah, that's like he just wants to have some fun this game and play a god that he loves to play. So we'll have to see. I mean, I think this is clearly Smokebreak trying some things out in a more live round opportunity. And when you know that you might have to play some tiebreakers soon enough, when you know that you've got another tournament to prepare for, throwing a little bit of a smoke screen out there, make some other teams think about, oh, what if they play this god in this situation? What if they play this god? Isn't worth nothing. So I think that it's interesting to see where Smokebreak's going to put all this.
What do you think about Los Leal's draft as a whole, though? I feel like they've gotten some strengths, but does it make up for what's been going wrong? Does it make it to 15 minutes?
No, not necessarily. They have to fix the play before. The draft is irrelevant until they fix the play, of course, but their comp is solid, and Joel played really well on Hecate last game, so it's not impossible.
Well, it could line up here. It's the last game potentially for Los Leal. They need to win it if they want to keep on playing. And the only way to do that is to go down to our casters for Game 2.
Had a couple of these today. This now being the second. Los Leal trying to avoid elimination in a must-win Game 2, and then you got to do it again in Game 3. What do you think of my picture there, Inbound? Deep in thought.
I like it.
Does that look like me?
It does. It does, and it's good to have you back on top.
You know I stay on top, Inbound. That's where I feel my best, and I'm not going to continue this one because I could nosedive real quick, real early. Oh, you don't break ever? Yeah, didn't think so. Let's give a little rundown though to the Los Leal composition here. Got Decoy back on the Loki, which is one of the things you wanted to see. Please, please. Thank you. Boxy dashes away. I'm thinking, don't start us off losing first blood. Let's get into the game a little bit. Feels pretty standard. Love Zonkui on the Amaterasu because of what I've seen this pick do this weekend.
Yeah, I like what Los Leal have crafted, and I agree with Aggro that, I mean, their comp is really good.
You're such a fan.
I disagree with Aggro.
Such
the comp is really good. However, no, the comp is really good, but they just have to fix the play. And it's not even, I actually think they have one of the best early games that we've seen. They play very well in the early game. They craft really good starts. I mean, you see Benko's kind of trying to do what last game what Los Leal did, which is proxy. You don't know where he's going to be going. He's going to be trying to contest, mess around with some things. And it seems like Los Leal have kind of gone to the wayside of going for something funky in the early game, and they're defaulting to a more normal start. I liked what they did last game with the funkier start because Sept got that early gank off onto him, and he didn't really know what to do after. And it seems like Los Leal, they have to fix the play, yes, and maybe they're saying, let's not try to like cheese this one. Let's just try to get to the mid game. Maybe let's just try to farm this one up. But I like how they started the first game.
Looked like everything was standard across the map for both sides except Benko proxying out of waves, stealing some of the back camps away from Los Leal. Have to mention this, and it's that Johnny is on Danzaburo jungle. And I tried to give him credit for a diverse god pool. This is one of the more unique picks I've seen him play.
And this, you have to shout out the original Danzaburo jungle. It's April. Okay. April from EMEA did start with this Danzaburo, and he's the one that kind of brought it to the forefront. He is a very big fan of it. And now it's maybe Johnny thinking there is some viability there.
Boxy body blocks the root, but is it at his own demise? No, not enough damage yet to fully engage. What does that look like? I mean, is the gank just, well, I guess you have stealth. You stealth from the jungle and wander in. You just rocket in from out of frame and then...
Basically.
That sounds pretty sweet to me.
It's a lot of burst on the engage. It's a decent safe character. A lot of damage on the Sept. No, Sept again.
It's happened again. It's Decoy on first blood. The Loki sends his eyes right towards mid lane, but Johnny, remember, had been on it in game 1 on the replies. It took a minute before the soul lane saw too much jungle pressure. I mean, you imagine, you know, Poseidon somewhat easy to gank early in the game, Sap 7. Maybe just unaware that it's going to happen again here on this on the Loki.
And Morgan kind of has another difficult time living, but it's more pre-5. Poseidon kind of dies no matter what if you have a good comp into him. Morgan dies very easily pre that ultimate, that transformation. Yeah, right. It gives her access to another god that's just safer, gives her another relic. And so Sap, I think it's just he's trying to bully out in mid lane, a little too far forward, a little too overcommitted. And Decoy's now shown, a want to play around mid. Not just today, it's been this entire weekend. He likes playing around mid, and they've punished now Sept a few times in this game and last game. And if they can, you know, survive these side lanes, and so far they've done more than survive on this side of the map.
Benko on the flip side of the lane does not have Eagles rally, and Decoy makes his mark again early in the game. A 2-0 start for Decoy. Not easy, I'll say, to outpace Johnny. Not easy to do. Decoy's doing it. Hits that assassinate. Johnny's still level 4, does not have the rocket, potentially to initiate some ganks. Back-to-back great starts out of the jungle.
And so far, really Smokebreak is dominating duo lane, but outside of that, it's kind of all Los Lille. They're the ones making these aggressive plays in right lane. They're trying to just live left lane.
Yeah, you're hoping that you can survive over in duo. This is where Smokebreak kind of passively has built up a lead. Boxy waiting for those cooldowns to come back, but 10 seconds feels like forever in Smite. Doesn't matter. Able to skirt away from the damage.
And I've loved the Sobek all weekend. I think it's a phenomenal pick. I don't get the thought between pairing it with a Jingwei. You instantly just give up any kill potential. You give up laning phase almost altogether. And, I mean, Cern is a very dominant character. Yemoja's really not that great laning phase. Like, she's fine. She maybe lives a little bit. But the fact that you're now playing in a matchup that you should win in most cases with a Sobek into Yemoja, but you're losing it because you've opted for the Jingwei and they have the Cern, I'd almost have preferred not going for the Jingwei and going a little funky with something like the On-Her, something we've seen Pegon play, because you want to dominate that lane.
Obenko avoids the dazzling offensive, but it costs him his beads. Did not have Eagles rally, so it's well timed from Zonkui. I wonder though, all right, so you look at the duo lane, the way it's composed here for Los Lille. Is this maybe then saying, all right, maybe they don't work perfectly together in the laning phase, but later in the game you're going to have a late game Jingwei, and later in the game you're going to have a late game Sobek. Is this Los Lille hoping just to get to a point where they both have scaled and farmed up well enough?
Yeah, it's definitely more so the Jingwei. I don't think Sobek's late game is anything to write home about, especially comparing it to the Yemoja, but Jingwei, if you could start a game level 20 Jingwei, everyone's taking that over any other ADC.
Everyone else is level 1, you start level 20, I'm taking that every day.
Dave. All right,
every day of the week, believe it or not.
If you could speed your character to late game, any character, Jingwei's probably going to be one of the top ones.
There you go. I've been catching hands today. I said it was a mythological battle in the mid lane. I gotta punch every once in a while.
I was going to defend you too, but not anymore.
I'm still not wrong. I mean, it is literally what we were seeing, and that is my job. But I'm not going to go down this this rabbit hole yet. Again, Boxy once again under pressure, and it at least oh my God, we have at least avoided death. There we go. Through the early portions of this laning phase on the Sobek, no more. Finally, Smokebreak able to hit Paydirt over in duo. Their first kill of the game. Johnny yet to make his presence known in any of these lanes. Chance to do so with the rocket, if that's how he chooses to fight. Double ADC, double burn around the Gold Fury maybe? Who says no? Maybe Los Lille. Boxy back from base, fresh off of death. Will the Sobek have an opportunity to steal? No lurking in the waters.
Sunder.
One of your abilities with the Sunder is going to have to deal the damage. And El Leon able to confirm the Gold Fury. Bad to worse for Los Lille. Might even get worse if Boxy can't avoid the damage. Sept 7 deals the final blow, and it's Dory who takes the rocket.
Realistically, at this point, Boxy's death is not worth anything. I like that he opts to go for that steal. I like that Dory doesn't play too far forward, and he's the one that also overcommits for that. Because Boxy dying, being behind, yeah, it sucks. Yeah, he's level 4. He doesn't have access to that ultimate. But I'm not too upset with it. Zonkui is still dominating the solo side of the map. He has the advantage. We've seen what this Alma can do while she's ahead, or at least even. We were impressed with Joel last game on this Hecate. And Dory, while he is behind a little bit, I don't need Jingwei to win lane. Also, Ikram opting into this Dev Gloves build, I think it's not bad by any means. It's not a bad build. But I think you're missing out on a lot of the value of Cern going for no Sunbeam Bow and no Bragg's first 2 items. It makes your burst really high and then allows you to build a little bit more tankiness later into the game. So I think this opens up maybe an avenue for Los Lille to kill Ikram a lot, because Cern's very easy to kill mid-late game. That's why you see Cyclone building these shifter shields, these berserkers, and it's going to be a lot harder to fit into the build for Ikram. Maybe he can fit like a tank item 6th but prior to that, you can't really find something.
I'm going to reiterate something you said. You know, if we're trying to track the wins for Los Leo here, it's that, and this is your earlier point, Inbound, is that the lead for Smokebreak is sort of isolated over in duo right now. 1 in support, 2 levels in ADC. You bounce a level or 2 back and forth sort of across the rest of the map. I'm thinking to where we were at 8 minutes in game 1, Benko had started to already run wild on the Amaterasu. Johnny and Decoy were going back and forth in the jungle. Johnny, haven't seen him yet make a gank happen on this Danzaburo. Transcendent stacking up, so I want to get some of those stacks built up as well. And something the desk had talked about, Los Leo just aiming to get to the mid game with a chance. And they've made a good opportunity for themselves so far. But it's a tower dive around the corner. Polymorph, almost enough damage. But there's still a chase to be had, and LAN is going to chase it every single time. Caster's Curse, I'll call it that. In a jungle battle between Zonkui and Johnny. But it's going to be a 2v1 here. It's a dazzling offensive out from the Amaterasu to avoid the engage. Johnny taunts back in. And I'm feeling responsible a bit because Smokebreak had been quiet, and now suddenly they've awoken right as I finish commending Los Leo for their early game.
Yeah, it's the 2 spots that you don't want to see it. Now Dory's getting punished super hard for that play. And in the right lane, Zonkui's looking for that proxy, and this is something you see Benko do a lot, but Johnny's there looking for the punish. There's nothing on the left side of the map to really be threatened. Usually you look for those proxies when a Gold Fury's up, so if you do, you know, get collapsed on, there is something there. Boxy gets his pluck stopped, gonna die eventually, and it goes from bad to worse.
Boop. There you go. Echrome gets it, one of the 2 carries. That's ideal. Just not LAN getting the kill. Smokebreak able to cash in on some presence here on the left side of the map. Johnny blinks away, however. All right, so a little bit of damage. Zonkui rotates. Zotates is what I was going to say. Whoa, Joel out of mid. That caught me by surprise, and a fadeaway onto Johnny. But at what cost? The Hecate's life. So 1 for 1. I mean, maybe as good as it's gotten for Los Leo here in the last few minutes.
Yeah, I really don't love that play for Joel. He is one of the ones that is farming evenly, and Johnny's not, you know, out of control. That's not a massive shutdown or anything. That's just killing somebody on the enemy team who's even just about. I prefer Joel just keep playing his life, keep looking for that farm.
Ugh.
You aren't getting this massive win by killing Johnny there, and I think I wouldn't even prefer Joel rotating there. I'd prefer him just standing middle and just getting more farm under his belt.
Yeah, well, rotates out, does get a kill, but suffers a death. Decoy, flawless so far this game. And I was going to mention, I mean, we saw Loki right off the bat in mid, immediately over to the right side of the map, made something happen there. And then a quiet next 5 or 6 minutes from Decoy. Over to the Gold Fury we go. Smokebreak pulling it, and it looks like Smokebreak, man, simply gonna pick it up. A stun onto Sept 7 as well as a transformation into the Loki. And Assassinate back in. Hello on the re-engage. Zonkui, though, will live to fight another day. And that, I mean, it's really tough when the pacing of the game is the way it is, and the first Gold Fury, very quiet. Second Gold Fury, not even considered. It feels like you're sort of resigned to just farming up and hoping that 5-10 minutes from now it's going to feel a little bit better if you're Los Leo.
And you see these big macro plays made by Smokebreak, getting these Gold Furies, but it's not just them getting gold and them getting a kill or 2 here. They're also just out-farming across the map. Decoy's looking for ganks, so he's not able to farm his own jungle. He's also not going to be able to, you know, split waves. And you see Benko, he'll clear a wave, and then he'll run into the jungle and clear the jungle. And you'll see the same thing with Sept 7. It's just, you are getting so much farm literally everywhere that you're taking it away from them, you're getting it yourself. This gold lead is massive because not just a Gold Fury here or there.
Open the gates, and nobody takes the portal out. Joel behind everyone on Smokebreak here, so could be a rocket in on the chase. And there is! Johnny crashes the rocket, and Benko finishes off the kill. It's Boxy left running, but a perfect body block. Why not? From Smokebreak. That little salt in the wound and a double kill has found its way over to the solo laner. And now the story has changed. Remember, the silver lining we were drawing earlier was, okay, it's at least Echrome, it's at least LAN, and that's sort of it. It feels pretty even across the rest of the map. Well, you mentioned Joel makes a rotation to left, now is falling a level behind, a level in the jungle, 2 levels over in solo lane. We are officially past containment. This lead is reached everywhere on the map. Decoy, assassinate, no stun. But the other team has one as well on the transformation. Decoy flips it onto Sept. As good as you could hope for. Leon low on Omi, low on health, and Dory in off the respawn. First kill of the game for the Jingwei. Joel on a kill, and suddenly Smokebreak have overstayed and handed back 3 kills. And if you really squint, Inbound, you can see a slight uptick in the gold in the bottom right.
And in the XP, you're slowly getting a little climb here or there. And I mean, that is a good target to get it on. Getting it on Decoy got one, Dory got one, Joel got one. It kind of evens up those lanes at least a little bit, but that again is, you talk about, that's a mistake by Smokebreak to allow Los Lil to kill him in between their tier 1 and tier 2 tower. But Los Lil being there, willing to group, look for that fight right there, that kind of slows down this game at least a little bit, but I mean, your solo laners getting ran down by the enemy ADC is never going to be the greatest thing to see.
This game has just felt like, you know, some individual good moments, but then surrounded by like 2 or 3 bad moments. And unfortunately, it's sort of that 2 steps forward, 1 step, or no, other way around. 1 step forward, 2 steps back type mentality. It's hard to walk. I don't know how to walk, so you know, it's tough for me.
Well, you're moving forward with your 2 steps forward, 1 step
right, and that's
back.
not, well, Smokebreak are, but we're talking about Los Lil. They're sort of doing the opposite. The 2 ships just kind of passed one another. Dory fresh off a kill, fresh into the airstrike. That'll provide some defense. Tier 1 tower about to get siege. Decoy has assassinate, might have to be used defensively. Johnny at 1, 2, and 5, a decent KDA, but still losing the damage battle early against Decoy. Assassinate safely ushers the Loki beneath the tier 2 tower. Sept 7 loses about half of his HP, but Smokebreak pretty clean here after that mid lane engagement. Inbound, waiting for that next Gold Fury potentially, and really have just rebuilt. Yeah, you had that 1 fumble around tier 2, but have rebuilt up that gold lead to the next Gold Fury, to the next Fire Giant. This is a team in Smokebreak, you know, despite adding a support for this event, feels like everyone's been on the same page, and it's been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, taking away that first set versus Team Risk, that was a surprise. Team Risk, you know, going to be playing in the final set today. But I think even if you are Los Lil, you come into this tournament, you've played in some, you know, community tournaments, but I've been really impressed with Decoy all weekend. I've really liked how he's played this Loki. He looks like he's confident. There is just a glaring issue, I think, with their team fights, or not team fights, their mid portions of the game where they just make those, you know, we have this big win, oh, we just kind of threw that big win and we're actually in a bigger, you know, hole than we started.
Deficit, right.
Exactly. And if they can just shore that up and get these clean wins, and even in game 1 of this set, they had a couple times where really, really good play, and they would even back up, but then a couple minutes later, some bad misplays here and there, and the lead just explodes.
Timing didn't quite work out around this Fire Giant for a steal. And so that'll be a clean and easy Fire Giant for Smokebreak. But a fast-paced game after the first couple of minutes. We're thinking maybe Decoy's getting something going. It's still a killing spree for Decoy. Only 1 killing spree for Smokebreak, and that's Echrome. It's not really shutdown opportunities for both teams. And in these moments where Smokebreak start to run away with the game, I do have to ask, you and I were talking about this in the caster room. Were you saying that Smokebreak's logo looks like Patrick Star to you? Is that what you were saying? Looks like a starfish?
Now that I see it again.
No.
I don't think I said that. Maybe it was Trelly.
No. This is revisionist history. You can say that you now, upon second look.
Can I just not blame Trelly?
You can.
Yeah, I think it was Trelly that was saying that. He was saying
Inbound, you've been around for far too long. People know that you said that and you can now backpedal. But you did initially say, wait, yeah, it kind of looks like a starfish. And I said, yeah, I guess there's 2.
Way to fight.
Oh no. Oh no, Inbound, no. I guess there are 2 points to it. And you're right, there is a fight slightly breaking out. Boxy, I mean, maybe a miracle pluck happens here. Dory joins the front line. Smokebreak a bit slow here as there's a couple members of their team mid and right. I mean, any defense is going to be tough. 13,000 gold behind, especially if you're going to lose your support, at least his ultimate. Are there any silver linings, though, on this defensive composition for Los Lil that can maybe make things interesting?
No B's on Echrome, and he's a lot of the damage, consistent damage right now. Maybe a potential pluck.
Good man. Good man. Maybe a stun, maybe a dazzling offensive, perhaps. A pluck onto Leon. He avoids some of the follow-up damage. Hexstone, the opening damage from Los Leo. Dory stays alive, and it's still Decoy with an assassinate. What else can you get done? A pluck onto Echrome. And goodness, out of nowhere, Los Leo have stood up underneath their left side Phoenix, maintained that left side Phoenix, and repelled the advances from Smokebreak.
Smokebreak just playing that really weird 3-man grouping in left and sending one down the right lane. Being even in potential fight distance there is just sloppy. And they get this tier 2, tier 1 in right with Johnny. It's just, why are we doing that? Like, we could just group up, we could get ready to push down these Phoenixes, and it seems just a little sloppy out of Smokebreak.
You know, and if I'm going to bring up you thinking that the Smokebreak logo looks like a starfish.
Okay.
I also said it kind of looks like a dog shooting laser beams out of its eyes. I had another mythological fight moment in that caster room because it literally is a dog shooting laser beams out of its eyes. I'm like 0 for 2.
Not doing great
on the obvious today. So I'm right here with you on the misreads or the obvious statements made about the Smokebreak logo. Clearly riveting conversations being had in the side rooms there. So you got to talk about
the logo we're talking about.
Yeah, it's riveting. Who wouldn't want to be a fly on the wall while Inbound? You're telling me I get to not only sit in a room with Inbound, but I get to hear him talk about what he thinks the Smokebreak logo looks like?
Yeah, sorry, man.
I'm living.
I didn't think it looked like Patrick Star. I don't know who said that.
I'm living a pretty good life, I would say. Los Leo, not, unfortunately, here in Game 2. Got to make a defense happen if you want a chance to qualify to Vegas, but those moments fleeting now at this point. 17,000 gold down. Ancient Fury handed over to Smokebreak, all 4 Furies of the game. And now, you know, this was ultimately the threat. I mean, that last defense, to your point, looked good because it was a 3 versus 5, and it was kind of awkward. Now you've grouped as 5, and you've knocked down a Phoenix in mid.
And you have the Ancient Fury, so even if you are tanking a little bit, it's going to be doing a lot more reduced damage. And Smokebreak just playing it really safe again. So far, just a couple weird sieges. Like the first one, as you said, 3-man to left side, split elsewhere in fight range, and then they lose that fight. This time, they sprint it down middle, they get it with Ancient Fury, and they have an opportunity to go to the other sides also. But this must be, we are backing for one last back, and then we're going to be looking for an end, and just they're calling game with this next Fire Giant.
Smokebreak really, this feels like a very momentum-heavy team.
I can see that.
I'm not like a huge fan of momentum used, like maybe in like LAN, like you're playing in front of a crowd, and you talk about momentum, you get the crowd behind you, you're meant to, I mean, it certainly is worth talking about. And these more isolated best of 3s, you know, I mean, in-game momentum's maybe a thing. Ultimately, my point being, Smokebreak, like a very vibes-heavy team, I feel like. I look at Benko, he's laughing in the player cam. I mean, it's a team that can ride those emotions, play a little bit more loose, play a little bit more aggressive, and that's a scary team to play against. Feels like we saw it early in Game 1. Continuing to see it here in Game 2. Dory has to use the airstrike, but Johnny is in on the chase. The rocket for follow-up initiation goes through everyone, and maybe actually for escape and just to buy some time. Boxy will hand over the double kill. Who gets the rest? This is the team you got to imagine. I was thinking maybe going to farm out a few kills. One last chance for Zhongqi to send out the dazzling offensive. And Smokebreak will get it done 2-0 fashion. And unfortunately, that's the end of the road for Los Leo.
And they now officially set up this final set for it's going to be an exciting one.
Yeah.
This one, you know, not particularly close. But, I mean, you still have to shout out how well Smokebreak does end up playing that. Both games, mostly positive past the first 5 minutes for each of those games. Decoy makes a couple plays early Game 1 and Game 2. Sept falls behind Game 1, Game 2. But post 5 minutes, we're talking 100% Smokebreak, 0% Los Leo.
Yep, Smokebreak now. A team that, you know, potentially, if the next set goes certain ways, I'm not going to tell you. You got to wait and see because smarter people than me will really break it down for you. But potentials for tiebreakers tomorrow, depending on our final set of the day. Smokebreak, a team Now you're riding high. You get a 2-0 win, kind of cleanse the palate a little bit after some tough sets early on here in this weekend. It's a competitive group that we've got here inbound on the flip side. We've got a lot of top loaded things going on in other groups. Hopefully you can hear the other guys. What did I miss?
I don't know. Aggro looked at me, looked away, and started laughing.
Aggro coming in and ruining everything? There's no way that happens. You got inbound? Well, I look forward to Aggro explaining what happened, because inbound not only thinks that Smokebreak's logo looks like a starfish, and this is great because we got them huge in the background on the TV, so we can really try to break down what you're looking for there. What goes right here, though, for Smokebreak inbound? Kind of wrap this one up for me. What goes well here in Game 1 and Game 2?
I mean, it's just good team fighting and good macro play that the LATAMs have to learn to play a little bit, looser than not the 2 steps forward. I just messed it up like you messed it up. 2 steps forward. I just did it again. Whatever. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. You know what I'm saying.
Well, it's not often the saying. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Wait, that is the saying.
That is the saying. We were saying it the opposite. Smokebreak 2-0, 2 steps forward, 0 steps back here in this best of 3. Let's take a peek at those starfish behind Gourmizer and Aggro on the desk.
I don't know what they're talking about as well. I mean, we've been quiet and silent. And
I've been focused on doing
really
my job.
Behaved. Yeah, you should see the notes Aggro's been taking. I don't. Starfish, that's a dog, bro.
I don't know, man.
Anyway,
I don't know.
Can't
help those guys. I don't know.
Yeah, 2 steps forward, and he said it twice in a row. I mean, come on. Smokebreak come in, they get their 2-0. The important thing really for them, and we had this conversation, they were playing not just because that's a solid win for them, but also because now, depending on what happens next set, they could still fight for that first seed spot, which is wild to think about. But it is another really big win for them, just to be able to come in, get to play around a little bit in Game 2 as well.
It's a lot like the first set of the day where we were saying, this is, if you want to be considered a contender to win Vegas, you've got to come in and take care of business in a set like this. We saw Mockingbird do well in that type of scenario, right? But this was what this was acing the test if you're Smokebreak. I mean, they came in and just absolutely dominated. This is a good example of kills aren't everything in Smite, that it's about map control and objectives and controlling the farm. The kill totals aren't that different, but the gold lead was, the map control was, the XP was, all in Smokebreak's favor. I gotta say, I thought Decoy played his early games really, really well on this Loki in both games. I thought Joel had a pretty good performance on this Hecate in both games. Los Leo, I know they came in with some subs and a pretty difficult situation in that, but overall, I think that they have some things to take back and work on and be prepared as we move forward in Smite 2 competitive.
Yeah, that's something else that hadn't been mentioned a lot is while we're talking about Los Leo is like bringing back what you've learned to your region, and then everyone in the region gets better.
Right.
And then suddenly the next team that comes forward is a tank in comparison. So they unfortunately fall down here 0-3. Smokebreak continue, and they are now 2-1, I believe, in the standings. They get themselves a big win, 2-0 victory here. And we've got Deathwalker who's standing by for an interview.
That's right. It's Deathwalker and Dolson. I was about to say Dolson, a.k.a. Benko. No, it's Deathwalker, a.k.a. Benko. Walk me through Sap 7's mental this game. Felt like Sap was just sort of chosen to die a handful of times in the laning phase. Did he hang in there here in Game 1 and 2?
Well, we had a lot of fun last night, so I think he just kept maintaining sort of that mentality. We had a real good time, and he just wanted to keep feeling good, just to prepare for tomorrow's games, but through moods. Just stay in a good mood, healthy mindset.
We're going to Vegas, I mean, now you're officially going to Vegas. Did the team feel a little extra pressure in this set? A little work to do to fully qualify to Vegas?
No, not at all.
Okay, understood. Now you're waiting to watch this set later on today. Hopefully maybe a chance at first seed out of this group. What are expectations for our final set of the day?
I am very impressed with how the Food Drive team played against us. They came up with some strategies that we've never seen before, really. So we learned a lot from them, if anything. So maybe if Team Risk picked up on some of the stuff that we picked up when they played against us, I'd expect Team Risk to at least take a game off them.
Yep.
But Team Risk have to 2-0 for the tiebreak to even happen in the first place, right?
Right.
I don't see that happening.
Okay.
All right, so maybe some calls here. We'll see what happens. Maybe some tiebreakers tomorrow. Either way, Deathwalker, good job in your set today. We'll see you out in Vegas, and we'll see the fellows on the desk right now.
That, to me, there's a lot of respect to Food Drive for Globe immediately.
I was going to say, I mean, Benko, a.k.a. Deathwalker, coming out of the qualifiers was saying that, well, Risk is, it's Risk. They're the best team. They've been dominant in our region, all that kind of stuff. It's a pretty impressive tone switch, and for a player who's been around and seen a lot of success in the career that he's had, I think it's telling what Food Drive did in their matchup yesterday to inspire that much confidence that he's not even sure if Risk is going to be able to take a game, let alone win that set. So I'm really excited now.
Yeah, a lot of what he was talking about, I mean, the math stands, right? You need 2-0s. That needed to happen. Not only here, they needed themselves to get a 2-0.
Yep.
But you need Team Risk to get a 2-0 if you want any sort of tiebreakers to end up happening. If it goes 3, even if Team Risk win in 3, that doesn't change it. You're not going to end up having those same tiebreakers because the numbers are going to be different. Because what you see here is how it's going to be, right? Smoke Break, they have 2 in their plus-minus, and they're 2-1. If Team Risk win 2-0, they will have 2 in their plus-minus and be 2-1, and Food Drive would be 2-1 with 2 in the plus-minus. That's where it starts to get hairy, especially because then, well, you have Smoke Break beating Risk. Risk then, in this theoretical tiebreaker scenario, beating Food Drive, and then Food Drive beating Smoke Break, and then you'd have to play some tiebreakers to figure out where that triangle ends up. If Food Drive win, not a conversation. They're just 3-0. Smoke Break's 2-1. Team Risk is 1-2. There's your 1-2-3. If it's 3 games, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head because I'm not going to do the plus minuses for 3 games. But someone's going to go down 1 and only up 1, and so that's still going to give us a.
It would be in this order. It'd be Food Drive, Smoke Break, Team Risk. If Risk end up winning 2-1, it would mean that
they only go
up
1
head to head on Smoke Break versus Team Risk, which would be the first tiebreaker, and Team Risk lost against Smoke Break day 1. So if Team Risk...
Yeah, realistically, they only can do a 2-0.
Right. They can only do a 2-0 if they want to force a tiebreaker, or they are just going to be the 3rd seed. They are guaranteed to Vegas, right? They're locked for that, but if Risk want to be not the 3rd seed coming out of this group, which is crazy to say, considering what we expected in this group. Now it's either tiebreaker or 3rd seed for Team Risk.
And all of it comes down to this. Based on what Deathwalker said, he's not even sure if they'll take a game, let alone getting a 2-0. I don't know, man. I think this one's going to be really, really fun to watch. I feel like Team Risk is a team that can adapt incredibly well, right? We've seen it, all of them, all 5 of them, for years have been on teams that have had to adapt really well, whether they've been winning or losing. But Food Drive for Globe, and I'm sure me and Inbound will get into this on the next desk as well, but this is a team that I remember kind of counting out when I saw them in the open bracket, where I thought that's going to be a really good, 4th to 7th team. They're going to be somewhere in there, not quite the top, but they're going to be a contender that ruins other people's chances and gives the top 3 or 4 teams a really, really hard time. And then they just became one of the top 3 or 4 teams.
Undoubtedly. I think this is the best matchup of the whole Founder Series so far. I mean, this is the matchup that I've been looking forward to the most. I really think that this Food Drive team, no pun intended with their name, is the hungriest team here. This team doesn't have the accolades that a lot of these guys did from Smite 1. This is where they are making their name. This is their biggest event that they're playing in. And I think that you see that in the way that they've played.
And it's crazy. A month and a half ago, I would have been like, man, Team Risk versus Cowabunga, that's going to be a crazy finals, right? Look at where we are now. Things change quick, and that just leads us to sometimes the more fun sets, like the one that is coming up. Food Drive for Globe are going to be taking on Team Risk. If Team Risk can 2-0, we're going to have a bunch of tiebreakers. If they don't, we'll figure out your 1-2-3, and we'll even be able to get a bracket for Vegas set up and scheduled. So, after this quick break, make sure that you stay tuned in because we got more Smite 2 coming at you.